That's how long it's been since we've been up here, okay? It's been a minute. It's been a minute. We've been vacationing. We've been regrouping, recharging. We're just trying to get ourselves together. And so we're back. We're all the way back. We're all the way back. So make sure you tag your friends, tag your loved ones, your enemies, whatever. But tonight's episode of Mental Moments, we are going back to school, y'all. Back to school. I don't know if I'm ready. I was doing some commercials earlier, and I was also talking to some friends of mine, and I was like, "Are y'all ready? Like, are your kids ready?" And then I had to think about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm not even ready. My last one that's in the house, Madison, this is her last year in high school. So I'm super excited for her, but I'm also a little nervous for myself, as well as for her, because, this is like stepping into the new chapter in her life. I'm like, boo, we're gonna be roommates, we're gonna be, thugging it out, you're gonna be across the hall, hey, how you doing? You're gonna be grocery shopping like today. I took her grocery shopping, and all of that. I'm like, you just got paid, so let's go ahead and use your money. So she was just like, not trying to buy name brand things. I was like, what kind of salad dressing we buy? Don't you want to buy, the name brand one? She was just like, well, it don't matter. Oh, really? It doesn't matter. So, parents, you already know when your child gets a job, their first job, you already happy because you already know when they're getting paid, all that good stuff. And then when we pull up to what, Chick-fil-A or whatever, we roll down the window and bypass your window. Just let it just pull up, let it come to their window, right? And they be like, oh, you're not buying my food? No, you got money. Then they be like, they're not hungry. Does that ever happen to your parents? Chime in. Let me know. Put your comments down. Let me know if that is your child, because that's all of my children. So, look, so tonight we have two lovely guests on our show this evening, and they're going to share with us their expertise as well as some personal stories, perhaps, about raising their children or experiences that they've had in the education system or in the counseling system. But we're going to just go ahead and get it started. Make sure you tag your friends. Make sure you do hashtag mental moments, back to school, all that good stuff. Mental health matters. Hashtag away. Okay. So listen, the first guest that we're bringing to the stage. Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Hi, Natasha.
Look, this is my good girlfriend. Her name is Yolanda Michelle. She is the outreach manager at Pro Bono Counseling in Maryland, where she is responsible for outreach recruitment and engagement, also and retention of licensed clinicians and mental health professional. She has a bachelor's in criminal justice administration and management and her master's in human services counseling and criminal justice. She is an alum of Howard University in the Washington,
Mhm.
D.C. Uh, look,
You
thank
know.
God we don't have the other. We're not even going to go there. It's almost
Okay.
coming time, all right?
Okay. All right. All right.
And Liberty University, which is in Lynchburg, Virginia. She is a certified level 3 victim assistance specialist. Yolanda previously served as program manager at Roberta's House, which is a family grief support center in which she led group support sessions to survivors of homicide victims and to children and families experiencing grief from the loss of a loved one. She is a mother of four and a Mimi to one beautiful granddaughter. She is also a published author, a background vocalist on several recordings. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for
Welcome.
having me.
Thank you so much for joining me. Sometimes my friends or colleagues, we got to twist their arm a little bit
Hmm.
just to get them to, to step
Yeah,
on
I
the
know. I said, "Are you sure you meant to send that text to me?"
Right, yo. That's what she said, yo. I'm like, you know what? I just took the phone. Like, stop playing.
Yep.
Stop
Are
playing
you
with
sure?
me.
I
Yes.
appreciate you though. I really do for thinking of me.
Hey, what are friends and colleagues for? And the
Definitely.
next young lady to the stage is another great lady. Like, I'm just super, super stoked that I know some really pretty phenomenal ladies, people. I'm just so blessed to know these two young ladies right here. So this young lady that we have is Dr. Janine Perry Campbell, serves as the director for student and educator engagement in the Office of Equality Affairs for Wake County Public Schools. She has been an educator for over 20 years. She says it's in her genes because she is a third generation educator. Wow. She earned her BS in biology from Old Dominion University, MBA from Capella University in education and special education from Virginia State University, and earned her PhD, all right, in
Yeah.
curriculum and instruction with the cognate in urban educational leadership from Old Dominion University. Janine is an active member of the Western Wake alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She is a lifetime member of the Norfolk State University Alumni Association, where she is a member of the Raleigh Durham chapter. She owns a travel business, Noir Adventure 365, specializing in group trips. She is the proud mother of two, Nia, is it Nia?
Yes.
And Zoe, and a fur baby. Oh, I cannot. Ivy Coco. I cannot. And I love it. I love it. Welcome to this.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
It is really an awesome, like, first of all, we got Norfolk State in the house.
Right. Behold.
Y'all double
Okay,
teaming me.
behold, okay, behold the green and gold. I'm just saying.
Okay.
And then we also have a Howard University alum here with us tonight. So we all know homecoming is coming. And what we're really trying to do is get our kids, if they feel like college is for them, then we really want them, we want to give them the necessary tools in order to be successful. What are you laughing at, Janine? Look at you. Somebody is texting you.
Yes. Yes.
I need you to get it together. Look. So we just want them to have the necessary tools in order to be successful, whether that's a trade school, whether that's going to cosmetology school, mechanic, into the military. Um, the choices are limitless. And so, therefore, back in the day, our parents used to try to force us to go to college, force us to go to
No
college. And
choice.
as an educator myself, I used to see the parents. Like, I knew when the kids wrote the homework and when the parents did the projects, and then when they wanted to come, and then you're like, well, how was Howard, or how was Nova State, how was Princeton, how was this? And they'd be like, I dropped out. And oftentimes parents, they drop out because they're living the dream that we kind of wanted them to have. Like,
Mhm.
we're trying to live our lives through them, and
Mhm.
we've already done all of that. We've lived our lives like our high school days, so we can't get those days back. But what we can do is give our students and our children the necessary tools in order to be successful, whatever they decide to do, whatever it is that they decide to do. So tonight's episode, we're going to talk about all of that, like some tips for the teachers, some advice for the parents, some strategies for the kids, what are some of the challenges and opportunities. So we're going to talk about all of that tonight. And I don't know, Michelle or Janine, did y'all see the commercial that I did earlier? I don't
I
know.
did. I remember those days well. I wasn't as nice as you though.
So it's gonna be different. It's gonna be different ones now. It's
You're
gonna be.
okay.
It might be one. It might be one that sit on the porch, like, you know what? One of those, but Right. We go.
Mhm.
That was the first clip. Okay.
Okay.
The next one is you got to break out the belt. You got to break out, like, get your behind up. We're not doing this
Mhm.
year.
Why we got to do this every day? Every day.
Why you got to run for the bus? Like,
Right.
parents, y'all already know. You already know. Why are you calling me from school,
Mm.
asking me to bring you lunch?
Mm.
Don't start, Michelle.
I was
Janine,
gonna say I remember taking lunch for you a couple times.
Janine, go ahead, Michelle. I will call Michelle, like, if I was oh, and also about the guilt. That's another good one, the guilt. Because
Mhm.
I had a lot of guilt. I had a
Mhm.
lot of guilt. Because when I think Jay was in middle school, high school, Maddie was in elementary school. And that was when my job transitioned me to our New York office. So Monday through Thursday, I was in New York. And I would call Michelle and be like, Michelle, can you please, like, take Maddie? Or it was probably Jay.
I took Jay lunch. Yes. Yes. I was like, he can't eat the school lunch.
Janine, did you do any of that for your daughter?
Well, what was lucky for my daughter is she attended the high school where I taught. So we went to school together every day. So if she wanted lunch from outside, we would just DoorDash it to the main office.
So who's really spoiled? Both of y'all.
Right.
Yes,
Both
yes,
of y'all were really, really spoiled. So Janine, talk a little bit about your journey of becoming an educator. Like, what was
yes.
that cool for you?
So, as Tasha mentioned in the bio, I'm third generation educator. My daughter, in fact, is a middle school teacher, so she's a fourth gen educator. So, growing up with my mom teaching third grade, all of her friends were teachers. I did not want to become a teacher, right? I had other ideas of what I wanted to do. So, long story short, I attended Norfolk State, and I was a pre med major, and I did an internship at UVA Medical School. And I'm like, I am over school. I don't think I want to do this anymore. So life has this crazy twist. I got married. My ex-husband was stationed at Fort Bragg. And so I relocated from Norfolk to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And I remember leaving, and my mom said, get your teacher certification. You're marrying a military man. You're going to travel. No matter where you go, you will always be able to get a job. If you guys choose to have a family, the teaching schedule is just conducive to being a parent. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And so I came to Fayetteville State, switched my major to secondary education. And then, of course, military, we moved around. So I wound up coming back home and finishing at Old Dominion. And that's what got me into education. And once I started taking my classes, my student taught at E. Smith in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I loved it. And so I began my career teaching physics and chemistry. I was a floating teacher, so imagine being on a cart with beakers and lab equipment. That was just
Oh
a hot
God.
mess. Yes. So I taught for a while. Then I went into corporate, and then going through a divorce, teaching was just conducive to being now a divorced mom. Came back into education, and God truly blessed me with allowing me to teach at IC Norcom High School in Portsmouth, Virginia, which is the school which I graduated from. So that
Wow.
coming home full circle.
Yeah.
I was a biology teacher. I was a cheerleading coach. I cheered when I went to Norcom. So it was just full circle, cherry on
Right.
top. Moved to Richmond, did grad school, to earn my master's in SPED, taught at Old Dominion for 2 years. And what was neat
But
about
you said
that,
you didn't like that. You just
yeah, Richmond just was not it for me. No shade on Richmond, but Richmond was just not the best for me. So I had to come on back to 757.
7-5.
And so teaching at Old Dominion, I enjoyed it. I taught underclassmen methods courses. But then teenage daughters, high school moms of girls, you know how it can be once they hit that eighth, ninth grade year. So I
Yeah.
needed to be a little bit more hands and eyes on. So I
Yeah.
left the university setting, came back to K-12, and my daughter came to school with me. I even taught her, so that was a crazy experience.
Oh, I'm sure it
She
was.
did, she did well. She passed the SOLs and everything. And from there, I continued my career. I became an assistant principal. Then I became a principal. And then Portsmouth Public Schools developed a director for diversity, equity, and inclusion. I became the inaugural director. And then I was just ready for a change in life. My daughter was down here in North Carolina at North Carolina Central. And I just wanted to change. And so
Yeah.
an opportunity came up with Wake County Public Schools, and God opened the door for me, and I took a leap of faith, and here I am. So now I work in the Office of Equity Affairs in the 15th largest school division in the nation. I'm so grateful for the impact that I have with 160,000 students, and
Wow.
especially those who look like me. So giving them a voice,
Yeah.
giving them a brave space where they can thrive and do more than survive. So that's
That
what I
is
say my job is.
that is crazy
Amazing.
how things, like your mom, and you took the advice.
Yeah, I took my mom's advice.
Great thing. So Michelle, tell me this.
Mhm.
Excuse me. Tell me this. How did you come full circle with the counseling part?
Well, actually, so my story is totally different. So actually, when I was at Howard, I was a communications major. So my um, third year, this is transparency. At the end of my third year, I got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going back home. I'm from upstate New York, Syracuse, New York. And I stayed there for, I want to say, probably 20 years. I
Wow.
ended up having my daughter, got married, had more children. And finally, after those 20 plus years, I was just like, I'm just here. I'm just working. I'm in a rut. I'm not doing what I really want to do. I know I'm not doing what I'm meant to do. And so I was like, it's time to leave. It's cold and snow. I was tired of that.
Yeah.
And I always loved the DC, the DMV area. So I was like, I think that's where I want to go back. And so, long story short, I ended up back in Maryland. I ended up finishing my bachelor's, and then went right into doing my master's. And so, after I finished my bachelor's, which was in criminal justice, that was something that really just presses on me, just because knowing the system, knowing how we are treated as people, knowing um, just how the laws just don't make sense, all of that. And it's something that really um, made
Resonated
me,
with you.
yeah, it resonated with me. I was passionate about that and trying to see what it is that I could do to make an impact, see what I could do to try to help make some kind of change. And so when I went to go do my master's, I still had a criminal justice background, but then brought the counseling piece in it, because just knowing that the trauma and the things that a lot of people who are incarcerated have dealt with, and the reason why they're there, getting to the root cause of what has happened to
Landed them
them.
there.
Yes, to get them there. I feel that it's important to really to look at that piece of it, and then to be able to try. You can't um expect things to change or people to change just from incarcerating them without some kind of counseling, without some kind of therapy, finding out what happened to you, what has caused you to do X, Y, and Z. And so that's how the counseling piece kind of came in there. And
Wow.
so yeah, and then I ended
Um,
up doing working for a grief support center, which is another big reason why a lot of people are incarcerated, because they didn't know how to
No
handle
conflict
or
resolution.
exactly.
No conflict resolution. And
Yep.
you said something really important, is it's a cause and effect, right?
Hmm.
Like, this happened because of what?
Mm-hmm.
And just because you're in jail, like, okay, let's figure this out. Let's go back. Let's
Mm-hmm.
go back to the root of things. Some things are generational. Some things are just you was in the wrong place at the wrong time, or you may not know how to navigate your way
Mm-hmm.
through life, or you may not know how to navigate because a lot of people may not have ever gone outside of the DC area. Some people
Mm-hmm.
may not have gone outside of just their little nucleus of
Mm-hmm.
people. And so when you go out and into the real world and you encounter people of other races, they don't know how to act.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people don't know how to act towards you because they may feel like because they don't
Threatened.
understand you for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
So again, Janine and Yolanda, I'm so glad that you joined us tonight. And those are the things that we're going to talk about. So right now, I am going to play a little excerpt, and we'll have a conversation right after.
Time for Blair's Social Second. Well, all of those late nights, sleeping in, eating whatever, will come to an end soon for a lot of students getting back to the books in a couple of weeks. A report says to make the switch back a bit easier, you should practice. A clinical psychologist suggests about a week before the first day of school to start getting back into that wake up and bedtime routine little by little. Experts say it's helpful to actually do the morning routine once or twice before the first morning of school. Now, this would help, to get a true feel for how long it takes to get dressed, make the lunch, eat breakfast, everything you need to do in the morning. Another tip is to manage anxiety about new beginnings by encouraging open conversation with your children. They say it's also important to remind them they are safe and they have a good adult support system no matter what the issue is. So in Blair's Social Second, I'm asking, how do you get your children back in the routine for the school year? Head to our Facebook page, leave a comment. We'll share some of your responses coming up in our next half hour.
Okay, so Janine, going from summer, from vacation, and not just for our kids, like I got to program myself because getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, that's not for my life. Like I should be going to sleep at 4 in the morning. So getting up at 5 o'clock is not for my life. And I knew that when we moved to North Carolina and the time to get up was much earlier than before, I had to tell Maddie, like, mommy's not a morning person at all. And so therefore you're gonna have to work with me. That means you're gonna have to get yourself up and you're gonna have to make sure that we make this bus. Because if I have to get up and take you to school, it's not gonna work out well for anybody, like nobody, because that's like messing up my routine. So thank God, she is a morning person. So Janine, how can we as parents kind of like help get our kids back into and ourselves back into the mindset of this is the schedule that we need to now have, and summertime is over?
So I think, as the newscaster just said in the clip, is starting a routine now. In North Carolina, especially Wake County, our schools we have year-round, modified, university schedules. We have several different schedules. And so maybe a week before, it's time to start shutting those video games down that we play all night long, TikTok and all those different things. So now we're starting to get into the habit of going to bed. If you are, shower, bathe before bed, getting clothes out, starting organizing. I know this is a great week, time to start cleaning up your room, get the rooms clean. Because you're going to be, when school starts, it's go, 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 go. And things that you have time to do during your summer break, you won't have time when you're in school all day. And if you do extracurricular activities, if you're a working parent, now you go back to juggling all of those little pieces. And so developing a routine now, if you meal prep, if kids take lunches, breakfast, different things like that. If they ride the bus, ensuring they know where to go, what time the bus is coming, how do we need the time? If we get up at 6 o'clock, we need to be out of this door by 6:30 to ensure we're at the bus stop by 6:45. So all of those things are very important. And another
It cuts
thing,
down on the stress. It
it
cuts
does
down
cut
on
down on
the
the
stress.
stress. It does. And what we see oftentimes when we look at attendance issues of many students, there are a lot of parents, if you miss the bus, you're not going to school. especially if your school is 45 minutes to an hour away. And I have several kids who may be high school, middle, elementary. If one throws off the schedule, it throws everybody off, right? And so we
And
just
what
have
are they doing in North Carolina? I remember, I think I was talking to you last school year, and I think in North Carolina, they were like, if you live a certain amount of miles from the school, you had to figure out how you got to school. Like,
now, I can't speak for other counties, but in Wake County, we do offer bus transportation for all students. So we
Harry,
don't
that
do
was
it in
that,
Wake County. Yeah, students have access to transportation. Now, your ride may be an hour long, depending on where you're going in the county. And we do have that. Some students ride the bus 45 minutes to an hour, but we do provide transportation for our students.
and so what does that do to the students? Especially like for prime example, Maddie had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, be out the door by 5:45. That is so
I
early.
think her ride was about 45 minutes to an hour.
It was, yeah, definitely an hour. She didn't have to be to school until 7:20.
Mhm.
She was at school at 6. I think it was like 6:30. Like she was on that bus a long time. Get out of school at 2 something. She didn't get home until 4. So
Mhm.
for me, it's just like, and that's how it's going to be again this school year. So it's just, for me, it's like, how can the school system get a little bit better with, they already know that high school students, especially middle school and high school students, they do not go to sleep until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Granted, for whatever reason, but they go to bed late because of work, because of extracurricular activities, things of that nature. So it's just like, how do we navigate, or how can the school system assist us in that area? And I know that's a loaded question.
Yeah. Well, I will honestly say the school system cannot help parents in that area. That is in parents' locus of control. And so if you have a child who works, then maybe you need to talk to managers about work schedules. And then we do have children who have to work because they help support their families.
Yes.
And so maybe doing due diligence to determine school hours. I know in Wake County, our schools start at different times depending on which school. So you may enroll your student at one of our magnet schools. You can apply for magnet programs. We have early colleges in Wake County, and those schedules may be a little bit more conducive to the needs of the students. But it really takes parents working with schools. So for instance, if Maddie's school starts at 7:20, she gets to school at 6:45. A lot of schools have preschool activities. So there may be a place, the library, the cafeteria, where kids just aren't loitering around. If you work late, you stay up late, advocate for your child to do homework. That's the time to study, to do homework, finish incomplete assignments, right? So teaching them just to be responsible for their own learning and
Management.
maximizing their time, right? Because if you get your work done before school, then while you're in school, it's already completed. You've studied, you prepared for the day. If you stayed late on that bus ride home, I know I was a nerd, so I would do homework on the bus. So by the time I got off the bus, I can enjoy my day and do whatever. So I think it comes with having relationships with schools as well. One
Yeah.
thing I do want to mention right now, parents should be going onto the websites of the schools that their children will be attending, because most schools, if not all, are beginning to have open houses for families and family engagement, and where you'll meet with school counselors, administrators, teachers, wraparound services, social workers, just people in the community who can give. Sometimes they give resources, book bags, school supplies, but they help you to navigate starting the school year off and how to start it off successfully. If you have a child who's a senior, we're going in thinking October 1st, FAFSA applications begin. So we need to start thinking, if we have post-secondary track students that we're pushing to go to college, We don't have games to play when we start first day of school. We're taking classes that are going to get our GPAs where we need them to be. If we need to retake SAT, ACTs, or we're applying to colleges who've waived SAT and ACT. A lot of things changed after COVID.
Yeah.
But that is the routine and the mindset. Are we going to talk to FAFSA guidance counselors, AVID counselors, about access counselors, about scholarships? We're beginning to do things like that. What extracurricular activities are we participating in? And are they going to help make our college applications marketable? Because competition is huge right now
Yep.
in colleges. And we're really seeing that in HBCUs with admissions. It isn't like 20, 30 years ago with open
Right.
admissions. It is very hard to get into a lot of HBCUs now.
So with that being said, so I'm thinking like the emotional piece of that, like you also touched on um certain kids may have to work to help support their family. So Michelle, what are some possible signs that maybe teachers or educators could look for to help them figure out like why the student may be sleeping in class or why they may not come on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but they still turn in their work. But because the law says they need to be in school a certain amount of time. So what do you think are some signs, or what do you think could possibly, what else could be going on?
So definitely communication is key. So communication between the parents and those teachers being involved, being in the schools, and if that is the reason that a child, if they're working to help support, then it's really important to share that with the teacher, but at the same time, remembering that they are children, remembering that we shouldn't put so much stress on them. A lot of times we're making our children grow up sooner than they need to. And I totally understand helping to support, because the economy is insane. I get that. And not only that, you'll sometimes notice with kids sleeping, you'll notice maybe changes in their eating habits, maybe their sleeping pattern. They might have meltdowns, outbursts. I know when we're talking about grief, and I know I'm jumping to another topic, but some of those same things happen, and sometimes they're looked at as problem students when we don't know what's going on. Maybe they lost someone close to them, so they're acting out. Because they don't know how to articulate sometimes what is going on, what's happening with them. Maybe they're not eating. Maybe you're noticing they have a lot of stomach aches or headaches. Just really paying attention as the teachers. And I know I'm not in the school system, but I do understand that for a lot of teachers, it's so much time is being used disciplining as opposed to being able to teach. And so it may not be as easy to be able to notice certain signs and things like that. So it's really important to.
Yeah, because I feel like all of them acting up, right?
Yeah. I don't know. That would be a Janine answer.
I think with that comes with high yielding instruction. When kids enjoy going to class and classes are culturally responsive and relevant, kids can connect. The material is relevant. You don't have a lot of negative behaviors. And so that goes, and I love what you said about communicating with teachers. All students have learning styles. If your child comes home and you say, "What did you do today in Ms. Barnes' class?" Nothing. "What did you learn today?" Nothing. We need to have a conversation with Ms. Barnes, because maybe your teaching style just does not meet the needs of my child. Maybe a lot of misbehavior we see because kids truly are not being challenged. And we sometimes have our own implicit bias and assumptions about the academic and cognitive fortitude of kids. And just because they may be quiet and they may be reserved, it does not mean that they aren't intelligent and smart. You just may not be meeting the mark to meet them where they are, because they could be up here and teachers are down here. And so teachers have got to change. I always told my teachers when I was a principal, a lot of people said COVID should have made us flexible like a rubber band. But I disagree with that because if you stretch a rubber band and you let it go, it'll go right back to the original. And that's what a lot of educators did. They were so creative with digital and virtual learning. Then when we went back into the school, they went right back to the same old ways. So
Yeah.
I believe in adapting because now we have COVID babies in our schools.
Mm-hmm.
They are totally different. You have every child in school now has missed a year of school, and for
Exactly.
some a year and a half, depending on what states they were
Mm-hmm.
located in, right? And so we know the trauma that occurred with students being home.
Mm-hmm.
Not only do some students have to support their families, we have older students that support their younger siblings, and we have
Exactly.
students who
Or
are
raising them.
yep, who are raising
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
siblings or parents, right?
Mhm.
And so all of those things, I think teachers have to be more empathetic, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
They have
Mm-hmm.
to develop relationships and they have to communicate with parents. One thing I teach educators all day is your values may not be a parent's values. Parents send you the absolute best that they have. No one says, Yolanda, you better fail today. If you don't go to school and make F's, we're gonna talk when we get home. No one does that. They're
Right.
giving you their best. And so if they don't come to a parent teacher conference, that doesn't mean they don't care about education. Some parents caring about education is making sure Yolanda is bathed and in clean clothes and in
Right.
school on time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's having those conversations with parents. If they don't come to you, go to them. Take the social worker
Mm-hmm.
with you, take a resource officer with you. Meet parents where they are.
That
Don't
was my
talk
Mm-hmm.
at them,
question.
talk with them.
That was
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
question. What type of because I remember when I was teaching in Maryland, we had people personnel workers.
Who
Are
would
you
go
familiar
to
with that?
homes?
So the people personnel workers it was like the liaison between the school, the
Mm-hmm.
student, and the parent. So they would, like, if you were like you had truancy, you was
Mm-hmm.
missing school, then like you said, they would reach out to the parents, then
Mm-hmm.
to the home just to check things out and then report back to the school. So is that what do
Yeah,
we
so some schools, it depends on the district. I know when I worked in Portsmouth Public Schools, our superintendent, Dr. Bracy, and Dr. Patillo, who was the chairman of the board, they were very intentional with social emotional learning. That was a
Mm-hmm.
huge push in Portsmouth. And so we had attendance specialists who had cars. They would go to your house.
wow.
They did not play. They would go to homes. If you shouldn't have a first grader missing 30 days of school. So they
Mm-hmm.
would go to the magistrate. And we had to get the courts involved because we have to be effective parents because it's detrimental to our children. Portsmouth did a very good job with that. Community and schools, I know we had that in Wake County, but that's an outside agency that provides support to students as well as parents. And like you said, some schools have parent family liaisons that
Right.
help support parents. If you're displaced, maybe you having a food shortage or different things like that.
Right.
You have outside agencies that can provide wraparound services to support families.
Do
But
you
that
think
all comes with communication and having
Mm-hmm.
relationships.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you think, Michelle and Janine, do you think all schools should have psychologists? Yolanda?
Absolutely. I absolutely do agree with that. Psychologists, counselors, and I think in the Maryland schools, I've noticed because I've worked with quite a few of them. The schools are bringing in counselors because they realize that these children are dealing with so much. You don't know what environment they're coming from,
That's
what
what I
they
was
have
gonna
to deal with to even get to school. Like we said, may have an older sibling taking care of them. They may have to walk through who knows what kind of violence. They may see somebody. Somebody may have just gotten killed outside of their home. Somebody that they know. It's just so much that they're dealing with, and so I think it's really important to have those counselors there in the school for just moments. Children may have, like I said, they may have those outbursts, they may have those breakdowns, they may they just, I mean, they have trigger points, all of that. So
Mhm.
it's important to have someone there who's trained and who can know how to intervene and know what questions to ask to try
Right.
to find out what's going on.
I
Totally.
know that I used
Mhm.
to, like, the teacher would say, "Well, Maddie missed the second half of class," and so I'm
Mhm.
like, Father God, in the name of Jesus, if they call me one more time, Maddie,
Uh-huh.
the school called me, but I didn't realize at the time that she was suffering from anxiety.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like she was being bullied at school.
Mhm.
And so, or sometimes like if she was in a math class and
Mhm.
she was experiencing some difficulties in her math class. So
Mhm.
there, or she was, you know, just after she come home and we're talking and she was saying, you know, my heart rate just kept beating really fast and
Mhm.
I really didn't know. She said I had to hurry up and get out of class and things of
Mhm.
that nature. And it's like you said, having that
Yep.
conversation with your children, try instead of you just like, look, don't get
Mhm.
out of class again. You know, like you said, Michelle, there are so many environmental situations that may cause a child not to perform well in school. So
Mhm.
could you share with us some of the challenges that you not necessarily witnessed, but was able to aid students because of their environment, like living in the inner city? Um,
Mhm.
you know, you may not have the same challenges as someone that, even if
Mhm.
someone that lived in a two-parent household, you still
Mhm.
may have trauma.
Mhm.
In that.
Definitely. So in with the individuals, the families, and the children that I worked with, especially the smaller children, a lot of times people don't realize that children as young as 2 and 3, they understand. When something happens, they go through trauma as well, and a lot of times we try to pass it off as, oh, they're so young, they don't know. They do, and it's really important to, like we said, communicate, ask questions, ask a lot of open-ended questions. Sometimes for the smaller children, have them draw. They may be yet not be able to articulate what they're experiencing or what they're feeling, but they can draw it. And then it's really important to just pay attention, and like you said, not always be so reactive,
Right.
but really listen. Like with the children that we worked with, we did a lot of hands-on activities, because sometimes when you talk about teenagers, they don't really like to talk a lot.
Mhm.
But if you get them together and get some activities and things that they can, put their hands to, then they start to feel a little bit more comfortable. So it's getting to know them, and know um, what will make them feel comfortable. They know people who are not
For them,
for
they
them.
know who's for them.
They know it.
Some
They
high
can
school
feel it.
students, they
So
can
you
feel
have to
it.
be genuine. You have to
Mhm.
be sincere. You have to have some empathy,
Yes.
and really, when they feel that, they will open up. When I used to see families coming into our grief support center, of course, when they come in, they're dealing with loss, they're dealing with the grief, they're dealing with the hurt, anger, frustration, just so much. And they bring all of that in, and the anger, and just to see them transform over that 10-week or 8-week period is amazing. That was what made it all worthwhile for me. And all we did was we talked. We opened up the floor for them to talk about. We may, put a subject out there. How do you feel about this? Or we did certain activities, but we did
What
it
are
as
some
a family.
activities that people could
Um,
do possibly at home? I know
mhm,
you did this activity with me a couple of years ago, wherein it was called Listening Hour. It was something that was created by this professor at NYU um,
mhm,
years ago. It
mhm,
created it during the pandemic because
mhm,
no one had anybody to talk to other
mhm,
than call somebody, right? But they just
mhm,
didn't have that face-to-face interaction. And so what I know the activity that we did, Michelle, was I think I either played a song or showed a picture of something. And it was a group
mhm,
of ladies. And it was an open floor. This is a judgment-free zone. You could
Mhm.
just share, like, what does this song evoke? Like, what emotions does it bring to light? And then you'll have one person say, "Oh my God, it reminded me of my grandmother." And somebody else will be like, "Oh my God, my grandmother used to make me, this." Or and then someone else to say, "My grandmother passed away, but I
Mhm.
do remember this." And so it kind of like was an activity wherein, and it was ladies from different walks of life, different
Mhm.
nationalities, but they had a common thread that you would think, yeah, you may not have the same type of issue that I
Mhm.
may have, but there is a common thread.
Mhm.
You do open up. So do you have any particular activity that, come to mind right off that maybe parents could start with their children, especially if they've dealt with trauma? Because over the
Mhm.
summer, we've lost a lot of kids.
Mhm. Mhm.
We've lost a lot of parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, parents are dying younger and younger. And it's just like, how do we navigate through that? Like, how do you find your way through that maze? It has to be difficult. So
Mhm.
you could possibly maybe share like something that we could do, even a journal.
Definitely. Journaling is amazing in helping you to just release so much. And then you learn about yourself as well. So when you're journaling, and sometimes we always would say, make sure you go back and read what you wrote so you see how far you have, because sometimes it doesn't feel like you've made any progress. But when you're journaling, you can go back and you can see, oh, wow, I did overcome that, or oh, I did get through that when you thought that you never would. One of the things I like that we used to do was we would start out our group by doing a family tree. So we would have everybody in the family. They would have they would either draw their own tree or cut out something, and what they would do is work together, and they would take leaves or however they wanted to decorate it. They could use pictures of their loved one, and they start decorating or making their family tree. And so this started a conversation. And so that was important, especially when we're talking about this grief thing, because everybody grieves differently. And
Mhm.
sometimes people get angry because this person is not grieving the way you think they should, or they're doing something and you don't approve of that, not knowing that that's how they're dealing with their grief. So when we did the family tree, everybody came together, and it got them working together, communicating, and then they were able to learn about their family, some things that they never knew. And then it kind of built from there. So that was one of the ones that I really, really enjoyed. Another thing was keeping a kind of like a keepsake box. So that's another thing, just putting those things in there. So like when you have those moments where maybe you're feeling anxious, or those moments where you're feeling sad, you can go to that box and pull out something that makes you feel better. So just little things. I mean, little things, you don't have to go out and spend a whole lot of money. Just stuff that you can find around the house that you can do together as a family. So then that way, when that communication is open, when there is an issue or something is happening, then your kids will feel okay to come and talk to you, because you always want to keep those lines of communication open.
That is so key. You're absolutely right. That is so key. And when you talked about the little trinkets and the gifts, listen, those of you who are watching us tonight, if by chance you work for a company or you have items, because I know my friends, my colleagues and friends will reach out, or well, I was a former teacher, but other teachers will reach out to me and say, "Natasha, do you have any swag bag items? Do you have anything that my students can have? We just want to give them an incentive to keep their grades up, to come to
Mm-hmm.
school on time, to be to class, make sure their homework is done."
Mm-hmm.
So if by chance you are a business owner and you have some great items, it could
Yeah.
be fanny packs, it could be pencils, it could be pens, it could be cups, it could be water bottles, hats, t-shirts, anything.
Mm-hmm.
Please inbox me and I will make sure that I have plenty of teacher and administrators that are looking for items just
Mm-hmm.
to tell the kids, like, we see you. We
Mm-hmm.
hear you, we see you, and we want to applaud you. So those little things go a long way.
Yeah.
Bags of candy, bags of fruit,
Yep.
Capri Suns, juice, candy, apples, anything. That goes a long way. The teachers
Mm-hmm.
will be happy if they're teaching supplies that teachers may need. Please inbox me because we would love to share the wealth. So Janine, I can't believe it, but it's 9:50. We're almost at the end. So we're gonna do us a nice recap. How are there programs out there like the Roberta House, I believe, that partners with the school system as it relates to mental health?
Yes, there are several. So to find those out, Wake County is huge. And so I know we're everywhere through virtual platform. So reaching out to your school, oftentimes districts may have dashboards of community partners. Right now, Google is your best friend. So Google mental health providers for children. I know we live in a world now with virtual telehealth, right? So you don't even have to you can use your phone and provide those services. Reaching out to schools. Schools do have social workers, school counselors, interventionists, as well as school psychologists. So when we recognize those things from our students, our children at home, there are services that schools offer to all parents free to get the support that they need. And I also want to say to parents, it's okay for your kids to fail. I think that's what causes a lot of anxiety as students are preparing to go back to school. You know, we have tiger moms, helicopter parents. You don't learn unless you fail. And I like to call it failing forward, right? We don't want them
Oh,
to
I like
fail
that.
all year. But if your child brings home a 25 today and next week it's a 50, reward them like it's an A, right?
Yeah.
Because they've increased and made improvement. But if they know, you're not lifting them up, and they're not doing well in school and they're consistently failing, sometimes they'll feel so low that they can't get up from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so let them know it's okay, right? And share your stories. Mommy failed algebra when I was in high school, but it's okay. We'll get you support. We'll get you a two.
Every year.
But let
Mm-hmm.
the students know it is okay to fail. You're going to help them get the support they need, teaching them to advocate for themselves. All great millionaires, businessmen, entrepreneurs, athletes, musicians, they failed.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone who's successful had to go through 100 failures to get that one success, and it's okay. And that's how you learn and grow. And when we talk
People
about
learn
mental
differently too. People,
health,
like you said previously, a note to the teachers. You have all types of learners: spatial learner, linguistic learner, intrapersonal, interpersonal.
right.
You cannot just stand in front of the classroom and lecture.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody doesn't learn that way. Musically, they learn by the arts. I mean, it's so many different ways that you can learn. And school, going to the actual schoolhouse, isn't how everyone best learn.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's not. Like homeschool may be a thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like online school may be a thing for you. So
Hmm.
year-round school may
Be
be
a
best
thing.
for
Yeah.
you. So it's
And
so
I
many.
think it's like what Yolanda said. You've got to be able to communicate with your students. I have a little cousin who suffers from anxiety. And it was just like Maddie. She would go to class the first 5 minutes, go to the bathroom, and never come back.
Right.
And so, what her parents did, one, they realized that she did have some learning disabilities. So, they were able to do a child study and she was able to get an IEP to give her additional supports. But they found an online program that was vetted by that public school system where she was able to do school at home in a small
Mm-hmm.
environment. And then she would go to her zone school for extracurricular activities just so she can have social skills. And she flourished from that because just hundreds of kids, all the emotions,
Mm-hmm.
it was just too much for her. And
Yeah.
that's okay.
And
But
I was
having
just
relationships where
example.
your kids can be open and honest. And when we're talking about mental health of kids,
Mm-hmm.
educators that are listening, you have employee assistant programs. You can't pour into vessels if your vessels are empty.
Right.
Right. And so teachers go through trauma, teachers
Yes.
have anxiety,
Mhm.
educators go through a lot as well. And so teachers, there's nothing wrong with seeking therapy and getting emotional support, journaling, different things that you need so you can be your best for those that depend on you.
You're
Tasha,
absolutely right. Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to throw out there for the agency that I work for now, which is pro bono counseling in the state of Maryland. Anybody in the state of Maryland who is uninsured or underinsured can get access to free therapy through pro bono counseling. So again, for if you're in Maryland, um, like drop your information in the chat. I can reach out. You can reach out to me. I can reach out to you. If you are uninsured, and when we say underinsured, sometimes it could be you have a high copay. It could be out of network. It could be you have to pay out of pocket. There's a whole bunch of reasons why it could be underinsured, and so you can get access to free. That's not very common. Free
Right.
free therapy. So I want to make sure that resource is out there and known because it's a great resource.
Thank you so much. So basically, the major thing is to communicate. It's just like an open dialogue. And of course, our children may not know exactly how to communicate, but as an adult, and we miss the mark too. As parents, we miss the mark like all the time. And it's okay to apologize to our children.
Yes. And make
Okay.
mistakes. We fail
We
too.
make we really do make mistakes, and we have to bring that back. Like I talked about, and we'll talk about 2 seconds, but I felt like guilty for being in New York while Maddie was in elementary school. And I felt like she missed out on a lot of things, or that's probably where the anxiety started, because I wasn't physically home and she had to kind of like navigate some things on her own. When if I was home, maybe mommy could, because mommy love and daddy love are
Two
totally
different
different.
things.
You know what I mean? But as parents, we do suffer from being guilty or feeling like we need to be all things to our children. And we're human just like they are. And we're going to make mistakes. But the academic support is really key. So we need to create a great study and friendly environment for our children, establish a routine. We need to encourage reading, use educational resources like Yolanda and Janine talked about. And then we want to promote being organized, because the skill set that they have now is going to carry over into their adulthood.
Yep.
The emotional support, we need to listen. Parents, we don't be listening. We just go in, and it's just like, but yo, just take 2 seconds to take a knee. Like I tell people, take a knee and listen, and then say, I heard you say, I think I understood you to say this. Is that true? Is that accurate? Is that an accurate assumption of what you're trying to say to me? And it's not that I'm trying to dissect what you're doing. It's just that I'm just trying to do it for understanding, so that I can help you in the way in which you need. Encourage independence. That's another thing that I talk to parents when I used to teach. I used to talk to parents and students. I used to ask the students, like, okay, how much of those jeans you got on? How much was that belt? What about that phone? What about this? What about those sneakers? What about that hat? And I would say, okay, list all those things up here. And then after that, I would say, okay, then and I would go to my grade book like this. I'd be like, okay, then let me look at my grade book and see what kind of grades you got. Okay, I see a 69, I see a 73. Now, with your GPA now, do you think you'll still be able to live that lifestyle? Because mommy is going to get tired of you when you turn 18 and you're still in her house. But parents, did we set our kids up for a success or failure? Like if we keep taking lunch to school, like I was asking Michelle to do for my grown son, okay? And if we are still waking them up every single morning, ironing their clothes, making their lunch, and they're high school students, are we really setting our children up for success. So that's something that we need to think about. It's like allowing them to make or to co-make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, once you make the decision, okay, get back with me and let us talk about it. Let's see how it's going to work out. But allow them to start making decisions and live by the decisions that they've made.
Mm-hmm.
They got to live by them.
Yeah.
Build confidence.
Yes.
We can't tear our kids down.
Right.
If you find, because there are so many people that have dealt with abusive relationships, abusive family dynamics, due to stress, due to the environment, due to loss, all of those things. But it's not right. So course correct. So build our children up.
Mm-hmm.
Teach stress management. That's
Mm-hmm.
key. That is so key, to teach them how to deal with their stress. Foster social skills. Some kids don't like to talk to other people. They don't like to communicate. And it doesn't mean, like Janine said, it doesn't mean that they are this scholar, or it doesn't mean like they don't know what they're talking about. They may want to write it down. They may not
Mm-hmm.
want to verbalize it.
Mm-hmm.
Be a role model. Parents, we miss the mark sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Try to be a role model for our children and tell them. And all they want to know is that you're a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And look, and not to jump in, but
Yeah,
parents, your children are always watching.
Mm-hmm.
They watch how you handle disappointment. They watch how you handle disagreements. So if you are using ugly language, how you handle stressful situations, your children come to school and they emulate what they see. And we're talking about little ones, 5 and 6 year olds, right? So
yes.
children, they're listening to the music you play. Be mindful of music you're playing, things you watch on TV. You might think they're on a tablet, but they are listening, and they're sponges. They absorb everything. And so when they see how you disagree or you handle disagreements with others, students, little people will come into the school and emulate what they see at home,
Mm-hmm.
because
All
they
day
think
long.
that's what you're supposed to do. And so it is being mindful of what you do in front of your child.
Yeah.
Look, y'all, Janine, Michelle, why my mom said, Mom, get off. She talking about, she talking about, I don't have children in school, but I am really enjoying this conversation. Very informative. Okay,
Hi, hi, Mom.
Hey.
because she had 7. She got us all through school. And look, she gonna be mad. I tell this story all the time. When we were growing up, and we'd be like, Mom, can you help us with our homework? And she'd be trying to take a nap before she went to work. She worked like overnight. And she'd be laid out. She'd be like, okay, read me the directions one more time. And we'd be directions. Please circle. And she'd be like, like, Mom. She'd be like, oh Lord, read it to me one more time. We would do that like 3-4 times, but she was tired. She was raising 7 children. And I when I say I commend my mother, Mom, I salute you on this
Yes.
evening and all the time, because I don't know. I had 3. And when I say each and every one will present a different type of challenge, because all of your children may not be the same and they may not learn the same.
Exactly.
So each one of my children presented a whole different type of challenge. And so you clean the slate from what worked with that one, because that may not work with this one here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying to parents, stay informed, work with the teachers, promote a balanced lifestyle, monitor screen time. They should not be working. I know they may want to work, but they should not be working more than they're going to school.
Mm-hmm.
And found out what labor laws are, because at certain ages, children can only work a certain amount of time, right?
Right.
So if they work in fast food in different places where labor laws may naturally be enforced, people will work them as much as they can work them, right?
Yeah.
So just be cognizant of that, and always teach your kids, this $15 an hour may be cute right now, but you need to get your education so you could be making $15 a minute. How about that?
How about that?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
You're
that's
absolutely right.
Yep.
right.
Again, Yolanda, Janine, I thank y'all so much for joining me tonight. This was a really great conversation. I was able to get, even for myself, a recharge to start this year out strong with this last year with Matt.
Yeah,
So, you know, I'm almost to the finish
you
line with
got this.
the
And
last.
Tasha, I would say for Maddie, you
Yeah.
enjoy being in the moment, mindfulness. Enjoy every single second because the
Mhm.
first day is going to happen. Next thing you know, it's FAFSA. Next thing you know, she's applying to colleges. And then it's Christmas break. And then you come back and it's prom and it's graduation pictures. And you look, it's June and that baby is crossing the stage and it's
Yeah,
over. So be in the moment, allow her to be in the moment. You only get a senior year one time and make it the best time.
Make it
Yeah, make it count, make it the best time. So, and she's going to be amazing this year, Rockstar. I can't wait to see the great she's
yes,
going to be doing.
yes,
Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
here's the thing, audience. It takes a village. It
yeah,
takes a good girlfriends. I know last year I would call Janine. I'd be like, Janine, this happened. Like, what can I do? What should I
Mhm.
do? I mean, you got to really advocate for your kids and
yeah,
you have to get your great support system
Right.
in line that can be a phone call away
mhm,
or a drive away
yeah,
or a text away,
Mhm.
but we need each other. And
definitely.
if you say that you don't, I beg to differ. We all need somebody that's going to be in
Yep,
our corner and going to rally for us.
most definitely.
Everybody, this has been another great episode of Mental Moments. You got to take some mental moments. Now, I mean, sometimes you can take one, but most of the time you need several moments just to get
Hmm.
yourself. We really do. And I take them all the time. Whenever
Yep.
y'all see me on social media and you see my videos, I'm not talking to you first. I'm talking to me first because I'm a human being that go through things every single day of my life. But it's how we handle them and how we
Mhm.
deal with them and how we are transparent and open and who we're transparent and open to makes a huge difference. I
Mhm.
love y'all. I really, really do, ladies.
Love
Thank you
you
so much for
too.
Yeah,
joining me.
love you too.
Y'all hit us up in our inbox. Is there another conversation you want us to have? If you need to speak with Yolanda about grief counseling, dealing with, the homicide rate is alarming in every area in North Carolina, in
Okay.
Maryland. It doesn't matter where you reside. Death can knock on your doors. And so we want to make sure that we have the proper tools in order to help everyone. So this has been another mental moment. We thank you and we'll see you again next Wednesday night. Love you all.